Let me ask you something that might feel uncomfortable. Are you still chasing financial home runs when you should be focused on not striking out? Has this ever happened to you? Watching younger investors hitting it big with speculative investments and feeling that desperate urge to catch up before it's too late? Have you ever wondered why so many seemingly successful people end up financially devastated in their later years, while others, who never made headlines or astronomical salaries, retire with dignity and comfort? What if I told you the difference isn't about making brilliant moves, but about avoiding catastrophic ones? I've spent decades studying the investment philosophy of Charlie Munger, Warren Buffett's right-hand man, and discovered something profound about wealth building after 50 that flies in the face of conventional wisdom. The financial industry wants you constantly swinging for the fences, but Munger revealed a counterintuitive truth. After 50, the path to wealth isn't paved with brilliant moves. It's built by avoiding disastrous ones. Think about it. By the time you hit your 50s, your major life trajectories are largely established. Your career path, family situation, and core financial position are what they are. And more importantly, your timeline has fundamentally changed. When you were 30 and lost half your portfolio on a bad investment, you had decades to recover. At 60, that luxury is gone forever. But before we begin, please hit the like button and let me know where in the world you're watching from today. It's always fascinating seeing who's joining us from around the world. And if you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of our future videos. Stay with me until the end, because what you're about to discover might completely transform how you approach your financial future. While everyone else is frantically searching for the next Tesla or Bitcoin, Munger understood that survival becomes the ultimate strategy after 50. The stark reality is that most people hit midlife and panic. They feel behind, inadequate, or like they've missed their chance. This anxiety drives them to take precisely the wrong risks at exactly the wrong time. What's truly fascinating is how this defense-first mindset contradicts everything we've been culturally programmed to believe about success. We celebrate the risk-takers, the visionaries, the aggressive players, but after 50, those very qualities that might have served you well in your younger years can become your financial undoing. The financial world doesn't reward excitement, it punishes it. And nowhere is this more true than in the second half of life, where the consequences of mistakes compound just as powerfully as interest, but in the wrong direction. Your offensive years, your 20s, 30s, and perhaps 40s, were when risk-taking could pay off because time was your ally. After 50, the clock becomes your adversary. What if I told you that the most powerful investment strategy for the second half of life isn't about outsmarting the market, but about outlasting it? That while everyone else is chasing returns, the truly wealthy are focused on something entirely different. This principle transformed not just how I view money, but how I make every financial decision. And I'm just beginning to share how this counterintuitive wisdom can change everything. Let's talk about a powerful psychological, a force that has destroyed more financial futures than any market crash ever could. Charlie Munger called it the dumbest of the 7 deadly sins, envy. This insight reveals a profound truth about our financial journey that most advisors never discuss. People rarely go broke because they can't earn enough money. They go broke because they can't stand watching someone else earn more. Think about that for a moment. The internal battle with comparison has a uniquely destructive impact on our decision-making process. What makes envy particularly insidious is that it's the only deadly sin that provides absolutely no pleasure in return. Consider the others. With greed, at least you get to enjoy spending. With gluttony, you get to eat something delicious. Even with lust, there's some momentary pleasure. But with envy, You just sit there stewing in resentment, while the object of your envy is off enjoying their life. The revelation that transformed my approach to wealth building came when I realized that the entire framework was backward. The investment journey isn't about beating others, it's about not losing yourself. This mindset shift changes everything. When you witness your neighbor bragging about some hot stock or hear CNBC shouting about the next big thing, your immediate reaction isn't excitement or FOMO, it's calm detachment. Behind the scenes of nearly every financial disaster I've witnessed in people over 50, there lurks this same villain, comparison-driven decision-making. A successful executive I knew had built a reasonable retirement portfolio over decades, conservative, balanced, appropriate for his age. Then he joined a country club where everyone discussed their speculative investments. Within 2 years, embarrassed by his boring approach, he'd moved significant portions of his savings into high-risk ventures he barely understood. The outcome was devastating, precisely because, at his age, he lacked the recovery timeline of his younger self. The most successful investors I've observed demonstrate an almost supernatural immunity to what others think or do. They've developed an inner compass that remains steady regardless of external noise. They know that financial markets don't reward excitement, they punish it. This wisdom becomes increasingly valuable as we age because the consequences of envy-driven decisions become exponentially more severe. If you found value in these investment principles, hit subscribe to join our community of smart investors focused on building lasting wealth. For those over 50, envy transforms from merely unpleasant to potentially catastrophic. The mathematics are unforgiving. You simply don't have the decades needed to rebuild from fundamental mistakes. Your focus must shift entirely toward preservation and reasonable growth, not keeping up with neighbors or colleagues who may have entirely different circumstances. The liberation that comes from abandoning the comparison game is profound. It's not just about financial outcomes, it's about reclaiming your peace of mind. When you stop measuring your success against others and instead focus on your specific goals and timeline, the entire experience of wealth building transforms from anxiety-producing to deeply satisfying. I'm curious, have you noticed this tendency toward harmful comparison in your own financial thinking? Drop a comment with envy-free if you've recognized this pattern and are working to overcome it in your own investment journey. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by exploring one of the most counterintuitive revelations from Munger's wealth-building philosophy, a principle that challenges our natural human instincts. One of the biggest mistakes investors make, especially after 50, is selling winners too soon, while stubbornly clinging to losers. This pattern is so universal it seems wired into our psychological blueprint, yet understanding and overcoming it can transform your financial destiny. Think about your own investment journey for a moment. Have you ever sold a quality stock after it made a decent gain, congratulating yourself on your smart decision, only to watch it continue climbing for years afterward? This happens because we're hardwired to seek certainty. Locking in profits feels safe, while letting winners run feels risky. But this instinct betrays the fundamental mathematics of wealth building. The hidden truth that Munger understood was brilliantly simple. If you find a truly exceptional business, the wisest action is often no action at all. As he bluntly put it, sit on your ass and hold it. Don't get clever. Don't get itchy fingers. This patience requires immense emotional discipline precisely because it goes against our natural tendencies toward action and control. What makes this especially challenging is that the world constantly bombards us with reasons to do something. Elections, wars, inflation, recessions. The financial media presents each event as if it requires immediate portfolio adjustments. Yet Munger recognized that most of this is simply noise. Good businesses survive these disturbances. Great businesses actually thrive through them. Your job isn't to outguess every headline, it's to avoid selling the goose that keeps laying golden eggs. This patience becomes increasingly valuable after 50, when your investment timeline is shorter and the consequences of unnecessary trading activity compound against you. Equally important on this wealth preservation journey is developing a profound self-awareness about your own limitations. The world has become too complex for anyone to understand everything. The revelation that changed my approach forever was accepting that you don't get rich by being a know-it-all. You get rich by knowing what you don't know and then deliberately avoiding those areas. Consider that Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger built one of history's greatest fortunes by saying no thousands of times. They passed on countless opportunities they didn't fully understand, from tech booms to cryptocurrency revolutions. And guess what? They didn't miss much. Their selective expertise proved far more valuable than scattered superficial knowledge. Most investors, however, can't resist having opinions on everything, from interest rates to international politics to industry disruptions. After 50, this compulsion becomes increasingly dangerous. Your margin for error has narrowed considerably, and venturing outside your competence creates unnecessary vulnerability. The wisdom lies in developing the courage to simply say, "I don't know." Those 3 words, though initially uncomfortable, contain immense power. They prevent you from betting precious retirement capital on propositions you don't fully understand, a protection that becomes increasingly vital with each passing year. Has there been a moment when you recognized the value of staying within your circle of competence? Share your experience with knowledge boundaries in the comments if you've discovered the freedom that comes from this self-awareness. Let's talk about a fundamental mindset shift that separates those who achieve financial freedom after 50 from those who remain perpetually dependent on their next paycheck. Charlie Munger observed that one of the most profound divides in life exists between people who think like employees and people who think like owners. This distinction goes far beyond job titles or organizational charts. It's a complete paradigm shift in how you approach your financial journey. Most people, even highly successful professionals, spend their entire careers playing what I call the corporate ladder game, optimizing for promotions, titles, and perks. This careerism creates an illusion of progress while hiding a fundamental trap. Titles don't compound, ownership does. Behind the carefully crafted LinkedIn profiles and impressive business cards lies a sobering reality. Many high-earning professionals are simply expensive employees, not true builders of wealth. The transformation that changed my own financial trajectory came from understanding what Buffett and Munger prioritized. They never cared about looking important in boardrooms or having the fanciest titles. Their singular focus was owning things that made money while they slept, businesses that continued producing value whether they were actively working or not. This principle becomes increasingly critical after 50, when your personal timeline undergoes a fundamental shift. The harsh reality is that you simply don't have time to keep trading your hours for dollars indefinitely. Your energy reserves aren't infinite. Health challenges eventually emerge. The marathon of exchanging time for money has a finish line whether we acknowledge it or not. The breakthrough question that can revolutionize your financial future is deceptively simple. Do you own anything that works for you when you're not working? Real estate, generating steady rent payments, quality stocks paying reliable dividends, a business stake that continues earning whether you show up or not? If you're answering no to these questions, you're not really investing, you're just extending your career under another name. What makes this insight particularly powerful is recognizing that the journey from employee thinking to owner thinking requires both external adjustments to your portfolio and internal rewiring of your relationship with money. Many highly paid professionals I've worked with struggled with this shift precisely because their entire identity and self-worth had become entangled with their professional achievements rather than their ownership positions. The revelation that unlocks this transition is understanding that true financial independence comes not from how much you earn, but from how much you own. Your salary measures your value to someone else. Your ownership measures your value to yourself. This distinction becomes the foundation of financial dignity as you age. Consider how differently owners and employees approach market volatility. When markets decline, employees panic about their retirement accounts. Owners often see opportunity to increase their stakes at better prices. This fundamental difference in perspective shapes every financial decision that follows. Have you noticed places in your own financial life where you're still operating with employee thinking when you should be developing owner mindset? Share your thoughts by commenting owner mindset if you're ready to make this critical shift in your approach. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by examining a perspective that shaped Charlie Munger's entire approach to wealth preservation. Having been born in 1924 and lived through the Great Depression as a child, Munger absorbed lessons about economic reality that most modern investors never experience firsthand. This historical perspective created a foundation for his investment philosophy that's increasingly valuable in today's world of artificial stability. The revelation that transformed Munger's approach is deceptively simple. You can't count on good times to last forever. This insight seems obvious when stated plainly, yet our modern financial culture operates as if prosperity is the default setting of economic systems. It isn't. Throughout human history, civilizations rise and fall. Economies swing between feast and famine. If you live long enough, you'll witness both extremes, often multiple times. Subscribe now for more timeless financial wisdom that goes against the noise of mainstream investment advice. What makes this wisdom particularly relevant after 50 is that your personal timeline for recovery shortens dramatically. The buffer between you and economic catastrophe grows thinner with each passing year. This reality leads to a profound insight about resilience. With no debt, you can survive bad times. With debt, bad times kill you. This isn't hyperbole, it's mathematical certainty. Behind the scenes of every major financial collapse from 1929 to 2008, you'll find the same pattern. Those who entered the crisis with minimal debt often emerged wounded but intact. Those who were highly leveraged frequently lost everything, including assets they'd spent decades building. The tragedy is that many never recovered precisely because they lacked the timeline needed for rebuilding. Munger observed that resilience consistently beats brilliance when measured across complete economic cycles. Small, boring businesses with prudent management and minimal debt survived depressions, while flashier enterprises with clever business models but fragile balance sheets vanished. This pattern repeats with such reliability that ignoring it after 50 becomes a form of willful self-destruction. When distilled to its essence, Munger's journey to lasting wealth could be reduced to 3 critical habits: avoid debt, avoid drama, and avoid dumb people. This trinity of avoidance creates a protective framework around your financial life that becomes increasingly valuable as you age. Debt's danger is obvious. It magnifies stupidity and ensures that when inevitable downturns arrive, you're first in line for financial execution. Drama's cost is more subtle but equally destructive. It wastes precious energy that should be directed toward clear thinking and patient building. And by dumb people, Munger wasn't referring to intellectual capacity, but to those who are reckless, dishonest, unreliable, or addicted to shortcuts. These individuals aren't merely unpleasant, they're radioactive. Their poor judgment spreads to everyone in their orbit. What makes this 3-part formula so powerful is its simplicity. You don't need complex strategies or brilliant market timing. You need the discipline to consistently avoid these 3 wealth destroyers. Have you identified which of these 3 debt, drama, or dumb people has posed the greatest threat to your financial journey? Share your experience by typing triple avoidance in the comments if you're working to eliminate these dangers from your financial life. Let me pull back the curtain on something that's rarely discussed when people talk about Buffett and Munger's legendary success. Most assume their partnership worked because they were both financial geniuses who made brilliant investment calls. The truth reveals a much more applicable lesson for our own lives. What truly made their 50-year partnership extraordinary wasn't magic. It was discipline, temperament, and compatibility operating in perfect harmony. Behind every headline-making investment success stood a foundation of complete trust. Neither man wasted energy wondering if the other was scheming against him or advancing a personal agenda. This foundation of trust created an environment where intellectual honesty could flourish without ego interference. When evaluating potential investments, they focused entirely on the merits rather than on who might get credit for the idea. The revelation that transformed my own approach to partnerships came from understanding how they thought about money in precisely the same way. Both valued patience, rationality, and independence above all else. Neither cared about looking fashionable or chasing Wall Street's approval. If something didn't make sense, they simply walked away, regardless of how many people mocked their conservatism. What's particularly valuable about examining their partnership is seeing how they leveraged complementary skills. Buffett excelled at spotting undervalued businesses. Munger pushed them toward higher quality companies rather than cheap cigar butt investments. Together, they achieved outcomes neither could have reached alone, a powerful blueprint for effective collaboration at any age. But their journey wasn't without missteps. They weren't perfect judges of character and occasionally backed managers who later proved to be dishonest or incompetent. What separated them from others wasn't an absence of mistakes, but their willingness to learn from them without abandoning their core principles. Their greatest strength, knowing the limits of their knowledge and strictly operating within their circle of competence, provides a perfect transition to another fundamental principle for wealth preservation after 50. Getting rich at this stage of life isn't about making brilliant moves. It's about avoiding fatal ones. This distinction completely reframes the approach to financial security in your later years. At 50 plus, survival becomes the strategy. The mathematics of recovery simply don't favor those who make catastrophic mistakes later in life. You don't need to double your money overnight through some spectacular investment. You just need to not blow yourself up. This principle contradicts nearly everything the financial media promotes, yet it's the foundation of lasting wealth. The world offers an endless buffet of stupid financial decisions, specifically targeting those in midlife who feel behind. Crypto schemes promising overnight wealth, day trading systems allegedly beating the market, exotic real estate deals in places you've never visited. Each presents as an opportunity while disguising its true nature as a potential catastrophe. The wisdom of Munger's approach lies in its humility. At 50, you don't need brilliance to win financially. You need the discipline to stop doing stupid things, a much more achievable standard than trying to outsmart the entire market. Have you noticed how certain financial offers seem specifically designed to prey on the midlife fear of missing out or falling behind? Share your thoughts with avoiding fatal moves if you've recognized these predatory patterns in financial marketing. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by exploring the deceptively simple framework that Munger developed for financial security after 50. What's fascinating about truly profound wisdom is how it often appears elementary on the surface while containing layers of depth that reveal themselves through application. This is certainly true of the core principles that guided Munger's approach to wealth preservation. The revelation that transformed my own financial journey came from embracing 4 interconnected rules that create a fortress around your retirement security. First, keep it remarkably simple. Own businesses or assets you genuinely understand. This clarity becomes your shield against complexity that often disguises risk. When you can explain an investment to a 12-year-old in under a minute, you've achieved the simplicity Munger advocated. The second dimension of this framework, preserving capital, addresses a mathematical reality that becomes increasingly crucial with age. Every dollar you lose at 60 is exponentially more expensive than every dollar you lose at 30. This isn't just about the nominal value, it's about the irreplaceable time value of that capital. The recovery timeline completely transforms the equation of risk and reward. Behind the scenes of this approach lies a psychological discipline few master, avoiding the comparison trap we discussed earlier. When your neighbor brags about doubling their money on some speculative cryptocurrency or meme stock, the immediate emotional pull towards similar risk-taking can be almost irresistible. Yet the wisest investors develop immunity to these stories, recognizing them as potential pathways to financial self-destruction. The fourth element brings everything together, playing defense rather than offense. This mindset shift completely reorients your relationship with returns. A steady 7% compounded over 15 years creates a miracle of mathematics at 50. Your money doubles, then doubles again before traditional retirement age. This boring approach outperforms most attempts at spectacular returns precisely because it avoids the catastrophic losses that derail long-term compounding. The foundation beneath all these principles is a truth so fundamental that most financial advisors rarely discuss it, perhaps because it seems too obvious. Yet this hidden truth has more impact on your financial destiny than any investment selection. If you're not spending less than you earn, absolutely nobody can help you. Not Munger, not Buffett, not the most brilliant financial advisor on the planet. The laws of arithmetic don't care about your feelings, your lifestyle aspirations, or your social comparisons. They operate with mathematical certainty. If more money flows out than flows in, the end result is guaranteed. You go broke. This reality doesn't change whether you earn $50,000 or $500,000 annually. I've witnessed high-income professionals living like paupers in retirement precisely because they couldn't resist spending everything they made. Overspending doesn't just reduce your savings rate, it completely undermines every other financial strategy you might implement. The journey toward financial dignity after 50 begins with this foundational discipline. Have you noticed areas where your spending might be undermining your long-term financial security? Share your insights with Spending Discipline if you're working to align your cash flow with your true priorities. As we wrap up today's exploration of Charlie Munger's wealth preservation philosophy, I hope you've discovered something that resonates with your own financial journey. The wisdom of avoiding catastrophic mistakes rather than chasing spectacular returns might seem counterintuitive in today's fast-paced financial world. But it's precisely this contrarian thinking that has created lasting wealth for generations of successful investors. What I find most powerful about Munger's approach is how it strips away complexity and returns us to fundamental principles that anyone can apply, regardless of market conditions or economic cycles. The focus on avoiding debt drama and dumb people while maintaining spending discipline creates a framework for dignity and independence that becomes increasingly valuable with each passing year. If you found value in these insights today, I'd be honored if you'd subscribe to the channel. I'm committed to sharing actionable wisdom that cuts through the financial noise and focuses on principles that actually work in the real world. Your subscription helps me continue creating content that challenges conventional thinking about wealth and security. If this message struck a chord with you today, leave a comment with "Wealth Through Wisdom" so I know you made it to the end. I read every comment and love hearing how these principles connect with your own financial journey. And if you found this helpful, a simple like on this video helps others discover these ideas too. It's a small action that creates a ripple effect, potentially helping someone else avoid the financial pitfalls that derail so many. Retirement dreams. There's a video right here that explores how to build a resilient portfolio specifically designed to weather economic storms. Click and continue with me over there to see how these principles translate into specific asset allocation strategies that preserve wealth in uncertain times. Remember, financial security after 50 isn't about brilliance. It's about avoiding catastrophe. And that's a game anyone can win with the right mindset.